uh, 6:30, May 7th. And if we could have Bruce lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, well, thanks for that. Welcome, everybody. If we could have roll call.
Vice Chair Matthew Johnston,
Present.
Commissioner Clark Kramer. Thank you. Commissioner Gerald Abramson,
Here.
Commissioner Sean Colvin, Commissioner Bruce Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Rich Wyack, Commissioner Neil Sexton, Commissioner Mark McCamish. For the record, Chair John Corneau and Commissioner Steve Tannehill are excused from this meeting, but you do have a quorum with 8 commissioners.
Thank you. You guys do such a great job of making sure we have a quorum. So is there any modifications to the agenda?
Chair Johnston, we do not have any changes. However, I do want to recognize that we have a new team member. Mariana is with us today. She's taking over for Denise. Denise was promoted in the organization to the HR department. So Mariana is now part of Denise's role up front. So welcome, Mariana.
Welcome.
And she likes public speaking, so she has a 20-minute presentation for you to do right now. Just kidding, sorry. That's all we have, sir.
All right, great. So we'll stick with the agenda we have. So let's move to the approval of last meeting's minutes of March 12th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second it. Kramer.
Second. Any further comments? All right, all those in favor? Or do we do a roll call on that?
It's completely up to you, Chair, Vice Chair.
We'll go ahead and do roll calls.
Okay.
Makes my job easier.
Perfect. Okay, and this is for approval of the minutes. I have a motion and a second. Vice Chair Matthew Johnston.
Approved.
Commissioner Clark, thank you. Commissioner Clark Kramer.
Aye.
Commissioner Gerald Abramson.
Yes.
Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Bruce Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Rich Wyack.
Yes.
Commissioner Neil Sexton.
Yes.
Commissioner Mark McCamish. That motion passes unanimously 8-0. And just as a reminder for the record, when we make a motion or a second, if you could state your name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And could you please remind everybody of the public comments and how to make a public comment, please?
Absolutely. To members of the public who wish to address the commission tonight with live public comments on any agenda item, please visit vcboards.org/meeting-calendar for participation instructions, streaming links, meeting IDs, and passcodes. In-person speakers will be called upon first, followed by remote participants. Speakers will be called to speak after the agenda item is presented. For in-person public comment, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the secretary before the end of the public comment period. For our remote participants via Zoom or telephone, please accept the prompt to be promoted to speaker and unmute your mic when it is your turn to speak. The general public comment period for non-agenda items is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, unless the time allotment is increased or decreased by the chair, depending on the number of speakers. For public comments related to an agenda item, members of the public are allotted 3 minutes per speaker per listed agenda item at a single meeting, unless the time allotment is increased or decreased by the chair, depending on the number of speakers. Please use your allotted time accordingly. And Vice Chair, at this time, we have no public comment.
Okay, no public comments in person or online, but we did receive a public comment in writing.
Yes, and that was posted along with the meeting materials on the department's website.
Okay, so we'll note the comment we received in writing. Thank you. let's move to item number 6, the consent agenda. We've got consent agenda items A through E. If we can have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Yeah, Bruce Martin, I'll make the motion to accept.
Jerry Abramson will second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Are there any public comments?
No public comments on this item.
All right, any advisory comments? No other comments? We can take a roll call.
Vice Chair Johnston,
Yes?
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyack,
Yes.
Commissioner Sexton,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish. That motion passes unanimously 8-0.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to our regular agenda items. Item A is a receive and file. Is there a staff member to speak to this?
Good evening, Casey Pullman, Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance. Just a little bit of background on this subject. Our ARF trucks contain what you call AFFF, or aqueous film forming foam. In that this has been out for many years. What we do is on an annual basis to test our system with FAA's observation, we let off some of this foam at some place at the airport, at Oxnard Airport. It's been found that this foam has a lasting chemical called PFAS. I'm not going to say, so that's the acronym of it. And it is now banned. And so we have been tasked with trying to dispose of PFAS anywhere within our facilities. Because it's in our ARF trucks, we're having to remove it. So we removed it. As of April 23rd, we have decontaminated all of our tanks and the associated piping of AFFF and PFAS. So what goes in place now is a new type of firefighting foam called fluorine-free foam, which is is F3 for short. So it's supposedly it's up to standards of aircraft firefighting. And we now put that inside of our tanks, and that's what we'll be using for now on. It's biodegradable and it's approved by the FAA. So we're in the process right now of putting that in our tanks and testing it out, and we'll be ready to go and without any AFFF any longer in our firefighting activities.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions? Great, thank you very much. We'll
Absolutely.
receive and file that. Okay, item B, approval of Department of Airports fiscal year 2025-26 rent and fee schedule.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Madeline Hurley, the lease manager. You're probably wondering why this is coming back to you. Recognize that you looked at it in March and approved it in March. Subsequent to that, we met with the Airport Authority Group, who asked us to do a little bit further investigation on a single line of liability insurance threshold. And also we have a new skydiving fee. So we wanted to bring those matters back to you just so that you had eyes on it and could again review and approve. The information with respect to the insurance had to do with the per person liability for general aviation. We had requested an increase from 100,000 coverage to 250,000. And upon research and a little deeper dive with some of our local airports, some didn't have a specific threshold for that, and some still kept it at 100,000. So we agreed we would reduce that again to 100,000. So there's no change in that line item. The skydiving fee is, as you probably have heard and seen and perhaps witnessed by yourself, but the skydiving has been a successful operation to set up, and it's our first opportunity to have this service at the airport. This is a non-exclusive service, so others can also jump. So that annual fee is $6,000. And that is included in the rent and fee now proposed for your review. That's $500 a month or about $16, $17 a day. There's several different approaches that could be taken to look at that fee based on a jump, but we didn't want to get involved in extracted auditing of how many jumps are done. And after a survey of airports from San Francisco down to San Diego, we believe that's a fair fee. I also wanted to highlight there's a slight change in some of the labor fees. This slide, if you can put it up, please. So again, just to recap, we've outlined the proposed changes. Some of one you've already seen, the skydiving fees there. Next sheet, please. The fees for the credit card use, those have been corrected. So they're 2.75% of transaction amounts for credit cards and 1.75% for debit cards. That's for the online portal use. That's a county fee that's been charged by other departments, and we were sort of the outlier. So they really want us to come into compliance with that. And I think that's it on those fees. So I'm happy to take any questions.
I guess I'll first ask, is there any public?
There is no public comment on this item.
Is the fee because they're landing on the airport for the skydiving?
It's a combined use, so they're using the area, which we have to maintain, but they're also obviously a business making money off of the ability to use the airport. So there's also operations time that goes into maintaining that area. It's kind of a combination of market charges as well as labor.
Because we've had skydiving in Camarillo for years.
They
but
didn't-
just weren't landing on the airport.
They weren't landing here, right? And to that point, this particular company has been renting an office here for about $1,700 a month and jumping and landing in Moore Park. So they're going to be saving about $20,000 a year in rent here and paying us $6,000 for the use of Oxnard. So
Right.
Running rent at the, for the hangar area, right?
pardon?
The hangar area that they use over there?
No, they rent an office space here. So they're giving that up.
They're giving up the hangar area?
They don't have a hangar here. They use tie down.
No, not here. I'm talking about in Oxnard.
No, they don't have a hangar. Well, they're going to have to find a hangar for their parachute folding and whatnot.
Well, they were
They're
using a
currently-
hangar over there. I know that.
They're leasing space. At,
Good.
They're currently leasing
Mhm.
space
They're leasing space from the,
through May, the end of May.
Mhm.
It's yet to be determined going forward.
where they're going through. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, if there's no other questions, I guess, do we have a motion to approve these modifications to the rent and fee schedule?
So moved, McCamish.
Second, Kramer.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
And this is for approval of item number 7B. Vice Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sexton,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously 8-0. And just for the record, we did not have any public comment on agenda item number 7A that was received and filed. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, next item, 7C, the review of the fiscal year 25-26 budget.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jamal Ghazali. I'm the Accounting and Budget Manager for the department. There's a lot of information that you've seen. We're gonna go at a high level right now. And I'll be more than happy to take any of your questions. Okay, there is our summary of both airports with our budget year. Our biggest change is in services and supplies, and that's a lot of that is related to our business park improvements, and we have some big plans there. Our salaries have gone up just a little bit, and we've got a new position, and perhaps we'll talk about that a little bit later. This is the same information, just line item summary. Our projected cash balance at the end of 2024, which will be our projected cash balance at the beginning of July 1st, 2025, is that number that we're projecting. That's all I have. I'll take any questions you have.
Any questions? All right, if there's no questions, do we have a motion to,
Vice Chair Johnson, just for the record, no
sorry.
public comment.
sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right, no public comment. Do we have a motion?
Bruce Martin, I'll make a motion to accept. To approve.
Second, McCamish.
Okay. Any further comment? And no other comment? Roll call, please.
Thank you. And this is for approval of agenda item number 7C. Vice Chair Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Colvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyack,
Yes.
Commissioner Sexton,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamish. That motion passes unanimously 8-0.
All right, thank you. 7D, do we have a staff? Communications.
Commissioners, first of all, I want to apologize on behalf of Jeanette. She wishes she could be here. She put this presentation together. I asked for her, you've heard over the last several months, the feel-good stories, the component of aviation that most of the community doesn't hear about. So that's what she's been focusing on. But I asked her for this meeting to kind of step back. And so the presentation is a focus on the last 2.5 years of work, almost 3 years worth of work, building relationships with us and our stakeholders, but also focusing on the noise side. So that's what this presentation will kind of touch on. For the first communication engagement update, and I've asked her to kind of do this on an annual basis. So you're going to see this, expecting to do this every year. Next slide. So we're going to talk about communication engagement, building relationships and trust, enhancing education, visibility, and then specifically the fly friendly VC, addressing noise issues and concerns. Next slide. So community engagement. This is a picture of City of Oxnard has a leadership program, new businesses and business leaders in the county and specifically in the City of Oxnard coming to see some of the government entities, including county. So they visited Oxnard Airport. So that's this group here. Next slide. So again, establishing community communication system, and looking at our reoccurring opportunities for community feedback, accessibility to airport staff, streamlining our noise comment system, transparency and updates of information, and then commitment to listening to all of our stakeholders. That's kind of the goal. Next slide. This is one of our local schools. So one of the biggest programs that Jeanette started was a tour program for, local schools, youth-based nonprofit organizations, providing the history of the two airports, visiting our fixed base operators, getting to see, large jet aircraft, our sheriff and fire aviation unit, member of Air Force Museum here at Camarillo Experimental Aircraft Association, and then the local air traffic control towers, and then doing marketing items for all the participants to get you know, many folks in the county don't realize we have any airports, let alone 2 airports. Next slide. And we just hit 200 kids and adults. So this is more of our tour program. You see in the bottom right there is Denise staffing our air show, a booth, but we got a whole booth set up. We've got our marketing items we put out. We did back to kids at work day. I think that's the picture on the left there. So attending job, career, those kind of events. And then we go into the monthly stories about aviation, you know, Young Eagles, Pilots and Paws, so the great work that our aviation sheriff and fire helicopter air units do for the county. You've heard us talk about those over the last 10 plus months. Next slide. And then we move into the Fly Friendly program. Again, when I came 3.5 years ago, we didn't have a specific noise program. That was one of the top things that Jeanette was tasked with developing in September of 22, kicking off the Fly Friendly BC. Establishing community education, pilot education, annual fly-in event. We're scheduling our, we'll see that at the end, but our 4th annual fly-in events can actually be here at Camarillo for the first time at the Commemorative Air Force Museum. Flight monitoring, we purchased the flight tracking system so we can identify where pilots are flying, altitudes, those kinds of things. Commitment to doing monitoring and response, and commitment to ongoing feasibility improvement. Next slide. So here's a very impactful slide that that Jeanette developed. Is when we started this in 2023, we were averaging 630 noise comments at Oxnard a month from our neighbors. And then you look at 2024 with the average almost cut by 2/3, and where we are for at least the, you know, almost the first 4 months averaging down to 109. So we're making progress. And the next slide kind of shows the biggest change we made. Again, for Oxnard, it was touch and goes. It was that repetitive touch and go that was, you know, hitting Channel Islands, Oxnard Shores, Via Marina, those communities. That's the top left, was the left typical traffic pattern back in 2022. And with work through the ATC, local pilots, businesses, we were able to kind of move the more frequent right turn, north turn that you see in the bottom right, moving more of that traffic away from the, you know, congested and developed area, which is the direct reason for the changes we saw in the dramatic reduction over the last 2 years of our noise comments that we received. Next slide. So then we move over to Camarillo, completely different issue. Camarillo, 90%, you've heard me say, Jeanette say, 90% of our noise comments come from Old Town, Camarillo, with large jets that are on final approach to the runway here. What you see on the left is first 18 months before we started, before Jeanette and team started meeting with local based corporate pilots and about the concerns. So we were averaging in the large blue 16 operations per month between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And the lower left is green, and these are arrivals only. Between midnight and 5 a.m. was about 8. And middle of July of 2024, so July through the rest of that year, we had started meeting directly with the base pilots, corporate pilots, businesses that operate the large jets, and expressing the concerns from our community members. And you look, we've almost cut those in half in that first 6 months, just meeting with them. And you've heard us talk about the additional things we're doing. We've just contracted, we're in the process of contracting with a new company to look at the flight approaches and seeing if we can make changes. So these were just working with the local base companies, pilots, educating them on the concerns with our community, and we're already seeing significant changes. Next slide, please. So these are just the average number of flights per month. I'm sorry, that we had no flights during these times. So again, if you look at, that first 18 months, January 23 through middle of 2024, we had in blue, well, let's go with green on the left, between 10 and 6, that there was no flights 10 days a month, so 1/3 of the month. But after meeting with pilots and corporate businesses, that changed to 2/3. So 20 days a month on average, there was no flights during those times to disrupt our neighbors. So significant improvements again during those periods of time. And you see a slight increase as well during the midnight to 5 a.m. In that last 6 months, 27 nights out of, on average 30, there was no flights happening during those times in midnight to 5 a.m. So again, great improvements over the last 2 years. Just kind of wanted to share that information, how we're doing. And I'll be very candid with you. We've made great strides. I want to be very straight up with you that the improvements we'll see post this will be now very small, because we made huge improvements and now they're going to be very minor, because both programs are very successful at this point. But as I've said many times, this program we have will be in perpetuity. It will never end. So the last piece I want to end with, as I mentioned, May of this month, we're going to the board to do a contract with a company that's going to look at the flight approach. Is there anything we can do to make changes to the approach into Camarillo? In June, we have scheduled our 4th annual Fly Friendly, where we invite pilots and flight schools in to talk about our noise program, what we're doing, what improvements we can make, those kinds of things. This summer will be our first community meeting with that May 2025 new company. Is Meet and Hunt and Flight Tech for a flight approach analysis. It'll be both with the community, but we also have pulled together, in the process of pulling together, a technical group that'll include air traffic control managers, area CFIs that have been in the area a long time, corporate pilots, others that can help tweak and challenge and confirm the validity of what the company is proposing as improvements. We didn't want them just to be in a vacuum and say, hey, here's some new approved approaches, and the users not feel that they're actually beneficial to us. And then we move over to August of 2025, public hearing. It is the closure of a 2.5+ year process of our 2 noise studies, both Oxnard and Camarillo. It's important to note, again, these will ultimately be adopted by our Board of Supervisors. So when the staff here is no longer here, those will carry on through those documents, because they are the directive of the Board of Supervisors. So those plans and the things we do will carry on. And again, August 3rd and 4th of the 2 meetings that have been set, and there'll be final public hearings. And then late 25 and 26, we'll have additional meetings with community about what analysis and proposals the company has come up with, new approaches and noise mitigation. And then the last is just the ongoing and perpetuity, our communication relationships with tower and pilots, flight schools for continued improvement. So I think that's it, and I am open to any questions that anybody might have. Questions, comments?
I know she's not here, but I think, I probably speak on behalf of a bunch of people. Jeanette has made a huge difference in the public outreach and just the communications that go out for everyone to read, and the relations to have somebody to speak to all the time really helps people feel like they've been heard, and then to see action with the airports. It shows in all the data you showed. So please send her all the kudos that she deserves.
Thank you. And yes, we will pass it on. There's no question that I've been doing this for a long time. In the old days before social media, you were just addressing somebody who called about a concern. Now somebody has a concern, they put it on social media. Now 100 people within seconds have the same concern. So it's very important to have somebody like Jeanette get out ahead of those things when we know that Southern California Edison is, fly a helicopter doing, detection, pipe detection at 500 feet, gridding across one of our local cities, to have that in advance of it happening cuts off, 99% of our calls and concerned citizens. So it's a great asset that she provides us for sure.
I have a question. I have both fly friendly, the different areas and stuff laminated, and I keep it with me when I fly. What is the process to police people who do not fly at or above the recommended altitudes?
Yeah, altitudes, again, we don't enforce altitude issues, and it's difficult because if you read the FARs, that, above congested areas, 1,000 feet, except for landing and taking off. So when you're near an airport, there's some variances. But I think what you're really asking is if we see somebody in particular that is deviating from our published policy, we'll reach out. We just had one with a flight school. And it was just a new CFI, wasn't aware of some of our rules here, specifically at Camarillo. And we reached out to the flight school, and sure enough, new CFI wasn't aware. So not only did the owner brief that individual new employee, but, refreshed with all of those others. So the answer is we will target. We're now at a point where we get to target, it was rough in the first couple of years when it's 50 or 100. And that was more of an education with all the flight schools. Now it's much easier, and we just target individuals. We get a call or we see something on our flight tracking, when we can go after a specific owner, pilot, or flight school.
I attended a few of the noise study. There was some discussion reach out by friendly rules out to aviation. Has there anything happened with?
So the question was anything done regarding pushing out our flight friendly information, and the answer is yes. First of all, when we first started this, again, the first couple of years was we hit all of the flight school. There was like 36 in the LA region. So we hit those initially, and we kind of come back, and that's what we redo with the fly-in, is bringing those flight schools, reminding them, and also bringing them back into the fold and talking about, again, great progress. The flight schools, the pilots, they want to be good neighbors. We haven't had anybody that's pushed back at all in the 3 years that we've been doing this. So it's been very positive. And we continue to look at ways to educate folks using the ADIS and other mechanisms to help us with that.
All right, well, we've received and filed that report, so I think good transition to move into 7-8, the director's report.
And sorry, Vice
Sorry.
Chair.
Yeah, any comments from the public?
There are no public comments on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry again. 7-8.
Kind of regarding our outreach, I think we have a slide maybe for this. Recently, April 15th and 16th, we participated in the Defense Industry Forum. It was out in Ventura County. Probably 250 attendees to that. We had a booth with that. And really for us, again, this was defense industry folks. But our target was really our new, you've heard me talk about the last several months, our advanced air mobility test range that we're working on. So it was kind of getting our information out there, what we're working on. Again, those that are new to the commission, we're developing through FAA approval processes about a 500 square mile test range that does not exist in Southern California. The closest one is Northern California up near Monterey. And then there's one in Utah and Oregon. But basically, if you have a new aircraft, you want to go fly, you need FAA approval to do that. It's something called a COA, certificate of authorization, to get approval to do that. And we're creating a expedited zone to go through working with the University of Alaska Fairbanks, which is one of the 7 designated FAA test ranges in the country. and we would become a satellite of their facility. And again, if Keith wanted an airplane to go test, that process can take 12 to 18 months to get through that COA process. With ours, we'd have a stand-up. We've got a company already in place. It would be the test beta, if you will, and that could expedite the process to 30 days. It could be that fast as opposed to waiting 12, 18 months. So that's what we're working on, and that's why we participated in this. Next slide. We've got two retirees that are leaving us. I don't know. I'm the oldest one around here, so I don't know how these people are already retiring, but we've got Jamal, our finance manager, who was up here earlier, and then Dave Nafee, one of our deputy directors, admin and finance, also leaving us sooner than later, the two of them, but want to recognize the great work that both of them have done, and they're leaving us pretty soon. So wanted to recognize that. Next slide, Golden Knights. So we got, separate as we were working on the skydiving thing that you've heard us brief you all on last several meetings. Out of the blue, we got the Army's Golden Knights who called us and said, hey, we go around the country, and as a recruiting element of the Army, they take, local leaders and do tandem jumps. And so they came to visit us the week of April 21st to 25th. Had a little weather in the morning, but they were able to jump most of the afternoons during that period, and did some great work with our community members, and had a good time. They enjoyed the facility, and we hope that they come back. They were noise friendly with us, took the aircraft out past the coast, and we, last I heard from Jeanette, did not receive any noise complaints with them. They had a landing zone that was on one of the local beaches, not at the airport, but they departed from the airport and did their thing. And the last two items I just want to talk about is parking capacity, Camarillo Airport and Port Hueneme. Even though what's happening with tariffs and whatnot, we're getting significant amount of calls from Port Hueneme, folks moving new cars. So we're looking at available space. You've heard us talk and shown you Camarillo has a lot of new car parking already used. We also have the 11 acres over at Oxnard, 10, 11 acres at Oxnard, where we stored some of the soil. We're looking to probably park some cars there temporarily. Ultimately, we want to develop that site, and we've already got some interest in development on that site, starting with a solar system at this point. But in the interim, we are looking at parking some cars. We would derive some revenue from it. Again, it would be a temporary thing at this point, but we're looking to monetize it if we can. It's open space. So that is all I have at this point, unless there's any additional questions.
There are no public comments on this item.
Jerry Evans makes a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, Bruce Martin, I'll second the motion.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Have a great
Aye.
night. Good meeting.
Aye.